I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor, and we have breaking news. Alright, so this is the situation we have right here. Darby is now a hurricane. I repeat, Darby is now a hurricane. This is the fourth hurricane in the Pacific hurricane season. We had Hurricane Agatha, we had Hurricane Blas, we had Hurricane Bonnie, which was this first major hurricane of the season, and now we have Hurricane Darby. We had 5 named systems that moved into the Pacific, one of which crossed over from the Atlantic. We had Agatha, Blas, Celia, Bonnie, and now Darby. 4 of the 5 of them have become hurricanes. The name storm to hurricane ratio right now is 80%. I don't think I've ever seen something this high, ever. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the information. We have the latest from the cone right here. This is a very small tropical system right now. As time goes on, it's likely going to start expanding in size a bit more, but we'll have to pay attention, wait and see as it continues to develop. It is now a hurricane. It is expected to remain a hurricane until Wednesday, and it's expected to strengthen potentially up to high-end Category 1. Low-end Category 2 is not out of the question, according to the NHC. However, it is expected to weaken by the Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday night in the United States. But nevertheless, we still have to pay attention to it. We have the latest advisory right here. It is now a hurricane with winds of 75 miles per hour. Additional strengthening is expected during the next day or so, followed by some weakening by midweek. Darby is a small tropical cyclone. Hurricane force winds extend out 10 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend out 60 miles from the center. The minimum central pressure, take a look at this, 993 millibars. The pressure at the last advisory was 999. This thing is now rapidly intensifying. It has met that criteria. It is dropping 1 millibar per hour, or about 24 millibars in 24 hours if you calculate that. But it's now rapidly intensifying as we speak. And this is a tropical cyclone that only has hurricane force winds 10 miles from the center, which is probably explaining why this thing's intensifying so fast, because it's so small. We do not have an eye. A pinhole eye is likely developed at this point underneath these cloud tops. Let's go ahead and take a look at the visible shortwave right here. And this is the last 30 frames right here. We can show you the last 5 hours. And this thing will pass over from day to night. And this thing is continuing to really organize. Look how well this complex is. Look how tight this circulation is. This is very interesting stuff we can take a look at. At least for the next few days, it's going to stay out at sea and it's going to weaken out at sea. But we have to pay attention even past that, because we have track models that indicate that this thing's going to pass just south of the big island of Hawaii. Now, I don't think it's going to be hurricane force at all, unless it's like a massive Category 4 hurricane, and it can, and at that strength, it can overcome that, like Hurricane Douglas was in 2020. But I do think at least a tropical depression or remnants of this have potential to impact the Big Island right here if the storm gets large enough. So if you're in the Big Island of Hawaii, you need to pay attention to this for the next several days, and I'll continue to update you guys as the situation develops. We have the intensity models right here. The intensity models are actually a little bit back. The tropical tidbits estimated around 0 Zulu or 7 p.m. Central Time that this thing was a tropical storm of 70 miles per hour. This thing's already a hurricane at this point, and we have more and more models having this thing go up to Category 2 status. It's already a Cat 1. It already is in that range of where I estimated it last time, 70 to 85 miles per hour. I'm going to go ahead and increase my estimate between 80 and 100 miles per hour by its absolute cap. I don't think it's going to... I always say it's not going to get past 80 miles per hour, but it's already close to that. I kept saying that. At this point, considering how fast this thing's intensifying and how much more warm water it still has left to go, as you can take a look, it still has a decent amount before it crosses into some cooler waters as it moves to the west-northwest as time goes on. It still has time to intensify. It still has time to get up even to Category 2 status, and we'll have to pay attention to that. That's why I'm upping my estimate to 80 to 100 miles per hour. So Darby is really defying all expectations at this point. I mean, not all expectations. The NHC has been keeping an eye on this. They've been close to accurate when it comes to this. They just did not expect this rate of intensification at this point. They expected this to be a hurricane like 12 hours from now. Now it's a hurricane. So this is still a situation we need to pay attention to very, very carefully. Let's go ahead and take a look at the models real quickly. We're going to go over the HMON, the GFS, and the HWRF for you. The HMON has this thing organizing. It has as a hurricane by 7 a.m. Central Time. But at this point, just considering all else, this thing's now a hurricane. We'll have to discount that, but the models have this thing intensifying. The models for the HMON have this thing kind of maxing out at 988 millibars at around winds of 85 miles per hour, 85 to 90 miles per hour. This is an interesting situation we're taking a look at right here, and then it kind of stagnates and starts weakening as it moves south of the Hawaiian Islands. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the GFS right here, Darby right here. The GFS is also quite interesting. It had this. It's at 996. This thing's at 993 now. I will say that this thing was had it strengthened to a hurricane by this point, so the GFS has been on track with this. The GFS 2 has this thing bottoming out at 985 millibars, and then starting to stagnate and grow, and weaken as time goes on. And basically, as it dissipates before it approaches the Hawaiian Islands, although its remnants could potentially impact parts of the Big Island, like I just mentioned. Now we're going to go over the GFS because this is a very interesting model run right here. Actually, sorry, not the GFS, the HWRF, because this is a very interesting run right here. The HWRF at this point is the HWRF at this point has at 990 by this time, which it's at 993 now, but the winds are at 75 miles per hour. This thing has it continuing to rapidly intensify. The pressure bottoms out eventually at 972 millibars at potentially high-end Category 2 status. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this has it maxing out around winds of 105, maybe up to 110 miles per hour if it gets up there, which that is a very aggressive model. The HWRF has always been quite aggressive, so we need to take this with a grain of salt. And then it starts stagnating. It then tries it again. It then bottoms out once again down to 970, and then it starts stagnating and slowly weakening as it moves through. However, this thing still keeps a lot of its structure in the next 5.5 days. This is an interesting situation we're going to have to continue to develop. If you're in the Hawaiian Islands, you need to pay close attention to this, and I'll continue to update you guys as the situation develops. But with that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps me out and helps me make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. But with that being said, guys, have a wonderful day. Hit the red subscribe button and stay safe.